Your spine is aging faster than you think. Here are 7 ways to protect it. Here's a question for you. What if one of the biggest threats to your independence isn't your heart, isn't your memory, and isn't even your muscles? What if it's your spine? Most people think about their spine only when it hurts. That's understandable. Yet it also is one of the greatest misconceptions about spinal health. Welcome to the channel where mature adults, especially baby boomers, learn to live happier, healthier, stronger, and perhaps even longer. Long before pain appears, your spine may already be changing. The discs between the vertebrae can gradually lose hydration. Muscles that once supported good posture can weaken. Ligaments can become less resilient, and balance can begin to decline. Small changes in mobility can often occur so gradually that we simply accept them as getting older. They don't have to be accepted without question. Many aspects of spinal health respond to the choices we make every single day, and that's encouraging news because it means you have far more influence over your future than you may have realized. Today, I'm going to share 7 well-documented ways to improve your spinal health. These are not internet hacks. These are not miracle cures. They're not another list of stretches you've probably seen dozens of times before. Each principle is grounded in anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, and decades of scientific investigation. More importantly, each one is practical. You can begin applying these principles immediately, regardless of your age. Some of what you're about to hear may confirm what you already know, yet some of it may completely change the way you think about your spine. By the time we're finished, you'll understand why hydration is much more than drinking water, how your spinal discs receive nourishment even though they have very little direct blood supply, why movement literally feeds your spine, why sleep is one of your spine's greatest opportunities for repair, how chronic stress changes the way you carry your body, and why preparing your body today can influence how well it serves you tomorrow. The 7th principle is the one I consider the most important. It's deeply personal. It's one of the reasons I believe my own body was better prepared to withstand the greatest health challenge of my life. My lifestyle didn't prevent the unexpected. It prepared me for it. This conversation also begins the drink well portion of my new life live well method. When most people hear the word hydration, they think about drinking another glass of water. Today, you're going to discover that hydration is a far more remarkable process than that. Before we begin, though, I'm going to share an experience that forever changed the way I look at the human body. The most beautiful thing I ever saw in an operating room. I was privileged to observe a spinal surgery, and I will never forget what I witnessed. As the surgeon carefully exposed the spinal cord, my attention was drawn to something I had never seen before. The cerebrospinal fluid. It wasn't rushing. It moved in slow, graceful waves, flowing over the spinal cord, gently receding, and then returning again. It wasn't thin like water. It was crystal clear, almost luminous, with a slight viscosity that gave it an elegant, flowing quality. Family, it was one of the most beautiful things I have ever witnessed. I expected to see anatomy. Instead, I witnessed a living system in motion. That experience stayed with me. Years later, I studied craniosacral biodynamics, which is a gentle discipline that focuses on the tissues, membranes, and fluids surrounding the brain and spinal cord. One of the concepts explored in that field is that the craniosacral system expresses subtle, rhythmic patterns that are distinct from the heartbeat itself. Practitioners spend years developing refined palpation skills to perceive subtle changes within that system and to work with the body respectfully and gently. Whether you're hearing about craniosacral biodynamics for the first time or you've experienced it yourself, my purpose isn't to persuade you to pursue a particular therapy. My purpose is much simpler: to remind you that your body is far more extraordinary than most of us were ever taught. The human body is not merely a machine. It's a living, dynamic system of extraordinary complexity. Think about that for a moment. Blood transports oxygen and nutrients. Lymph helps maintain fluid balance and supports your defense system. Synovial fluid allows your joints to move with less friction. And cerebrospinal fluid cushions and protects your brain and spinal cord while helping maintain the environment in which your central nervous system functions. Each of these fluids has a purpose, and each contributes to life. Each reminds us that health depends upon movement, communication, nourishment, and flow. When communication is interrupted, function begins to decline. When nourishment is interrupted, tissues begin to weaken. When movement is restricted, other systems are affected as well. Your spine sits at the intersection of all three. It provides structure, it protects communication, and it depends upon nourishment. The more I learn about the human body, the more convinced I become that it deserves our wonder before it deserves our criticism. And that brings us to the first principle: hydrate your spine from inside out. Hydrate your spine from inside out. When most people hear the word hydration, they immediately think, I need to drink more water. Water is certainly important. Yet hydration is much more than pouring water into your body. Hydration is about getting water into your cells, keeping it there, and allowing every tissue to use it as nature intended. Your spine provides one of the best examples of this. Between each vertebra is a remarkable structure called an intervertebral disc. Think of each disc as a biological shock absorber. Every time you walk, every time you bend, every time you sit, and every time you lift something, those discs help absorb the forces that would otherwise damage the bones of your spine. Now, here's something many people don't know. A healthy spinal disc is composed largely of water. When we're young, discs contain 70 to 90% water, depending on the region of the spine and the person's age. As the years go by, that percentage gradually declines. Some loss is a normal part of aging. Yet lifestyle can also influence how well those discs maintain their hydration and function. Think about a fresh grape. It's plump, flexible, resilient. Now think about a raisin. Same fruit, very different structure. Water changed everything. Although your spinal discs don't literally become raisins, the analogy helps us understand why hydration matters. Water gives those discs much of their resilience. It allows them to compress when you move and recover when the pressure is removed. Hydration also helps the discs distribute mechanical forces more effectively throughout the spine. And here's another fascinating fact. Unlike most tissues in your body, the intervertebral discs have very little direct blood supply. That surprises many people. If blood vessels aren't bringing large amounts of nutrients directly into the disc, how does it stay alive? Primarily through diffusion. Nutrients and water move from nearby blood vessels through the vertebral end plates into the disc tissue. That process is influenced by healthy circulation and by the normal cycles of loading and unloading that occur when we move. That's one reason prolonged sitting can become such a problem. Movement helps create the conditions that support this exchange. We'll talk about that much more later in our third principle. For now, here's the important takeaway. Hydration is not passive. Your spine wasn't designed for you to sit in one position for 10 hours, drink a bottle of water, and expect everything to be fine. Your spine expects movement, it expects nourishment, it expects circulation, and it expects support. That's why I often remind people that we have two nutritional gaps. The gap between what we eat and what we should eat, and the gap between what we eat and what we actually absorb. Water is no different. Drinking water is one thing. Using that water effectively is another. Healthy hydration depends upon healthy physiology. It also depends on healthy cell membranes, on minerals, on movement, and it depends on overall metabolic health. Perhaps the question isn't simply, am I drinking enough water? Perhaps the better question is, am I creating an internal environment where my body can actually use that water? That's a very different conversation. Section 4. Water alone isn't the whole story. This may surprise you. You can drink plenty of water and still be inadequately hydrated at the cellular level. How is that possible? Imagine watering a beautiful garden. If the soil has been compacted, if the roots have been damaged, or if the irrigation system isn't functioning properly, simply adding more water won't completely solve the problem. It won't solve the problem at all. The human body works in much the same way. Water doesn't work alone. It works with minerals, with proteins, with healthy cell membranes. It works with circulation and movement. One of the reasons electrolyte balance is so important is that minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium help regulate the movement of water into and out of the cells. These minerals also play essential roles in nerve function, muscle contraction, and many other physiological processes. That's why I encourage people not to think only about drinking water. Think about eating your water as well. fruits, veggies, leafy greens, cucumbers, watermelon, berries, citrus fruits, celery. These foods don't simply provide water. They provide minerals, and phytonutrients, and fiber, and countless bioactive compounds that support the body's normal physiological functions. Nature packages hydration with nutrition, and there's wisdom in that. Another factor is something many mature adults don't realize. As the years go by, our sense of thirst often becomes less reliable. Some people simply don't feel thirsty until they're already mildly dehydrated. Certain medications may also affect fluid balance. That's one reason I encourage mature adults to be intentional about hydration instead of relying exclusively on thirst. Thinking, drinking, eating, moving, and sleeping well, none of these principles stand alone. Each one supports the others. That's exactly why I developed the New Life Live Well method. The body doesn't function in isolated compartments. Neither should our approach to health. Think about your spine just a bit more, because that's what we're talking about today. It doesn't care whether you call something nutrition, hydration, movement, or sleep. It simply responds to the environment that you create every day. Every healthy choice becomes another investment. Every healthy meal, every walk, every good night's sleep, and every glass of water. Every moment spent reducing unnecessary stress as well. None of those choices guarantees perfect health. Together, however, they create a stronger foundation from which your body can meet the expected and sometimes the unexpected. Next, we're going to look deeply into one of the most overlooked facts in spinal physiology. Movement does not simply strengthen your spine. Movement also helps to nourish it. And that's where we come to Principle 2. Movement is nutrition for your spine. If hydration is essential for spinal health, how does that water and nourishment actually reach your spinal discs? The answer is all about this second principle, move well. Most people think movement is simply about strengthening muscles or burning calories. It's much more than either of those, and both of those. Movement nourishes your spine. Remember that I mentioned your spinal discs have very little direct blood supply? That means they depend largely upon diffusion for nutrients and hydration. Think of your spine as a sponge. When you gently compress a sponge and release it, water moves in and out. Your spinal discs behave in a similar way. As you walk, bend, reach, change positions, and move throughout the day, the discs experience gentle cycles of compression and decompression. Those natural cycles help support the exchange of water and nutrients. Movement isn't simply exercise. Movement is nourishment, particularly where it comes to your spine. That changes the conversation completely. Many mature adults have been told they should exercise because it's good for them. That's true. But patients, well, sometimes they don't get another way of thinking about it. Every healthy movement is another opportunity to nourish your spine. walking, swimming, tai chi, gentle yoga, resistance training appropriate for your level of fitness. Even getting up from your chair every 30 to 60 minutes and walking around the room. Your spine was designed for movement. It wasn't designed to remain in one position hour after hour. One of the greatest challenges of modern life isn't aging, it's sitting. Many of us spend hours in front of a computer. We spend hours driving, hours watching television, looking down at our phones. Our ancestors rarely remained still for long periods. They walked, they lifted, they carried, they reached. Their bodies experienced constant variation. And your spine loves variation. The phrase, motion is lotion, has become popular in rehabilitation circles for that reason. And there's truth in that statement. Movement helps maintain joint mobility. Movement supports circulation. Movement helps preserve muscle strength. Movement helps maintain balance. And movement encourages the normal physiological processes that nourish spinal tissues. Think about your posture. How many times each day do you find yourself leaning forward? That's something I tend to do, and I get to watch that. How about having your head down and your shoulders rounded? How about when your upper back collapses down and sinks into the seat? Some researchers estimate that when the head moves just a few inches forward from its ideal alignment, the forces placed upon the cervical spine increase dramatically. No wonder so many people complain of neck pain. No wonder headaches have become so common. The encouraging news is that posture is dynamic. It isn't something you set once in the morning. It's something you continually return to throughout the day. Rather than trying to sit perfectly for hours, develop the habit of checking in with yourself. Lift your chest, relax your shoulders, lengthen your neck. Take a slow breath, then move. Your spine will thank you for it. You know, this reminds me of a short that I have on my Shorts channel with this very same situation. I found myself leaning over. I was outside shopping and I had bags on my shoulders. And right there in the video, I stopped to check in with myself and I said, pull those shoulders back. Lift your chin. All these things that I just mentioned. You might want to check that out. Family, your thoughts and emotions influence your spine far more than you may realize. Here's another question for you. What if one of the most important things you can do for your spine isn't something you do while you're awake? What if it's something that happens while you're asleep? Have you ever noticed that you're slightly taller when you wake up in the morning than when you go to bed? It's true. Throughout the day, gravity gently compresses your spinal discs. As a result, most of us lose a small amount of height between morning and evening. Then something amazing happens. While you sleep, those same discs begin to rehydrate and partially recover. Think about that for a moment. While you're resting, your spine is recovering, and while you're sleeping, your spine is rebuilding. Your body is actually rebuilding. Your tissues are repairing. Your brain is organizing information, and your hormones are regulating countless physiological processes. Sleep is not the absence of activity. Sleep is one of the busiest and most productive periods of your day. Unfortunately, many of us treat sleep as though it's optional. I'll sleep when I have time. Oh, I only need 5 hours. I'll catch up on the weekend. The body doesn't work that way, beloved. Research has consistently shown that chronic sleep deprivation is associated with increased pain sensitivity, slower tissue repair, impaired balance, reduced cognitive performance, increased inflammation, and poorer metabolic health. If you want your spine to perform well during the day, you must give it the opportunity to recover at night. That includes much more than simply the number of hours you sleep. Is your bedroom dark enough? Is it quiet enough? Is it cool enough? One of the simplest improvements many people can make is lowering the temperature of the bedroom. Sleep researchers generally recommend a cool sleeping environment, with many experts suggesting a bedroom temperature of about 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. I've actually seen studies that quote even 60 degrees, but that depends on who you are, I'm sure. Although personal comfort does vary. Well, why is that important? As evening approaches, your body naturally begins lowering its core temperature. That drop is a part of the biological process that prepares you for sleep. A cool bedroom supports that natural process, making it easier to fall asleep, remain asleep, and spend more time in the deeper stages of restorative sleep. If your bedroom is too warm, your body has to work harder to release heat. And that can interfere with sleep quality and cause more awakenings during the night. Think of your bedroom as a part of your health plan. A dark room, a quiet room, a comfortably cool room. Now, it may not be too comfortable if you're outside the covers. However, you get the point. A supportive mattress and a pillow that keeps your neck in a neutral position. Together, these create an environment where your brain, your spine, and the rest of your body have the opportunity to recover. Then there's another kind of rest that often receives far less attention than is necessary, and that is mental rest. Emotional rest. Your muscles don't distinguish very well between physical stress and emotional stress. Many people carry tension in their neck, their shoulders, their jaw, and their lower back. And that is why I refer to these in our meditations. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you heard someone say, "I've been carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders"? That's more than a figure of speech. Our emotional state often reveals itself through our posture, our breathing, our muscle tension, and even the quality of our sleep. That's why in my New Life Live Well method, none of these principles stand alone. Each principle is going to strengthen the others. The human body was never designed to function as separate systems working independently. It functions as one beautifully integrated whole. When we begin honoring that design instead of fighting it, remarkable things begin to happen. Next, we're going to look into a principle that many people underestimate. Your thoughts and emotions influence your spine far more than what most people can imagine. Your thoughts shape your spine. Have you ever noticed that you can often tell how someone is feeling before they say a single word? Look at their posture. When someone is joyful, confident, and full of purpose, they naturally stand taller. Their shoulders relax. Their breathing is deeper. Their movements become more fluid. Now think about someone carrying grief, fear, discouragement, or chronic stress. What usually happens? The shoulders begin to round, the head moves forward, the chest collapses, breathing becomes shallow, muscles tighten, and the body tells a story before the mouth ever speaks. The spine doesn't simply reflect physical health. It often reflects emotional health as well. Science has given us remarkable insight into this relationship. When you're under chronic stress, your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight branch of your nervous system, becomes more active. Now that's helpful if you're escaping danger. It's not so helpful if you're living in a state that includes all of that stress every day. Stress hormones such as cortisol remain elevated. Muscles stay partially contracted. Breathing becomes faster and shallower. Blood flow is redirected toward immediate survival rather than long-term repair. The neck tightens, the shoulders rise, the jaw clenches, the lower back often becomes more guarded. Over time, that chronic muscle tension can contribute to discomfort, fatigue, restricted movement, and altered posture. In other words, your body begins preparing for a threat that may no longer exist. That's one reason I often say your nervous system is always listening. It listens to your environment. It listens to your habits. It even listens to the conversations you have with yourself. Think about that. If you constantly tell yourself you're getting old, your body is falling apart, or that pain is simply your new normal, how might that influence the way you move? How would it influence your confidence? How might it influence your willingness to stay active? I'm not suggesting that positive thinking alone eliminates pain. We know better than that. If it were that simple, we'd all be pain-free. What I am saying is that your thoughts influence your physiology. Your physiology influences your posture. Your posture influences your movement, and your movement influences your spine. Everything is connected. One of the healthiest habits you can develop is learning how to calm your nervous system. Slow, diaphragmatic breathing, time in nature, prayer, meditation, gratitude, meaningful relationships, laughter, purposeful movement. These aren't luxuries. They are ways of telling your nervous system that you're safe. When the nervous system begins to settle, breathing improves, muscles begin to relax, movement becomes more natural, and the body can devote more energy to repair instead of protection. Think about your posture right now. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. How are your shoulders? Is your jaw relaxed? Are you breathing from your chest or from your diaphragm? Can you lengthen your spine just a little? Can you gently lift your chest without creating tension? Can you soften your shoulders? Those small adjustments don't just change your posture. They often change how you feel. Your body and your mind are having a conversation every moment of every day. The question is, what kind of conversation are they having? I've often described the spine as your pillar of integrity. The word integrity comes from a root meaning whole. When we stand with integrity, we don't simply stand straighter. We often think more clearly, breathe more deeply, move more confidently. That's why this principle is so important. Think well isn't merely about positive thinking. It's about creating an internal environment where your nervous system can shift from constant protection toward restoration. Your spine was never designed to spend decades preparing for danger. It was designed to support a life well lived. Our next principle takes us from the inside to the outside. We'll look at the everyday habits that either protect your spine or slowly wear it down without you even realizing it. Protecting your spine through everyday habits. How many times today have you protected your spine without even thinking about it? How many times today have you unknowingly worked against it? The truth is, most spinal problems don't begin with one dramatic event. They begin with thousands of small decisions repeated day after day, week after week, year after year. Poor posture while working at the computer, looking down at a phone for hours, lifting with your back instead of your legs, twisting while carrying something heavy, remaining seated for long periods without changing position, wearing shoes that fail to support healthy alignment. Each one of these may seem significant. However, together, they can have profound effect over time. Think about your smartphone for a moment. Technology has brought tremendous convenience into our lives, and it's also introduced a new challenge. Many people spend hours each day with their heads tilted forward, looking down at a screen. The average human head weighs about 10 to 12 pounds. When your ears are positioned directly over your shoulders, your spine supports that weight efficiently. As your head moves farther forward, however, the forces placed on the muscles, ligaments, and joints of your neck increase dramatically. It's no wonder so many people complain of neck pain and headaches and tight shoulders. Here's a simple habit that can make a meaningful difference. Instead of bringing your head down to your phone, bring your phone up to your eyes. Your neck will appreciate the change. I've done this several times, and I'm so used to looking down at my phone that it feels different. I'll put it that way. So I get to work on that as much as I'm encouraging you to work on it. The same principle applies when you're reading, working on a computer, or watching television. Bring your work closer to you. Don't force your body to adapt to poor ergonomics. Adapt your environment to support your body. Another overlooked habit is how we lift. When lifting something from the floor, avoid bending at the waist whenever possible. Instead, hinge at your hips, bend your knees. Keep the object close to your body and allow the powerful muscles of your legs and hips to do much of the work. Your spine was designed to work together with the rest of your body. It was never intended to carry the entire load all by itself. Balance is another important part of spinal protection. One fall can change a person's life, especially an elder. Balance is another important part of spinal protection. That's why maintaining leg strength, core stability, flexibility, and balance become extremely important, increasingly important as the years go by. The goal isn't merely preventing falls, which, by the way, is a major cause of death in seniors. The repercussions of a fall. However, the goal isn't merely preventing falls. It is preserving confidence. Confidence to walk, confidence to travel, confidence to remain independent. Think about those things. I do. Protecting your spine isn't something you do once. It's something you practice every day. Every time you stand, every time you sit, every time you lift, every time you move. Those small decisions become your future. That's one of the greatest lessons of healthy aging. Your body is always paying attention. It responds to consistency far more than intensity. Which brings us to the final principle. It's the principle that ties everything together. Principle 6, prepare your body for the unexpected. Everything we've discussed today, hydration, nutrition, movement, sleep, emotional well-being, and protecting your spine, all lead to one final principle: prepare well. This principle is deeply personal. For many years, I taught healthy living because I believed it was the wisest way to live. I wanted more energy. I wanted better health and greater vitality. I wanted and still do want and intend to enjoy life to its fullest. I had no idea that one day my body would be asked to fight for my life. Then the unexpected happened. I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, advanced acute myeloid leukemia, and everything changed. Suddenly, all those years of investing in my health were no longer about living a healthier lifestyle. They became the foundation upon which my treatment would stand. My physicians told me something I will never forget. They told me that I have the organs of a 20-year-old. Those weren't my words. Those were their words. They also explained that many people in my age bracket are unable to tolerate the intensive chemotherapy required for that disease. At the time, I was 73. But my body was prepared for it. That experience forever changed the way I think about health. Healthy habits are not simply about adding years to your life. They're about adding strength to your life. They're about increasing your capacity for life. They're about building reserves. They're about preparing your body for challenges that you could never see coming. None of us knows what tomorrow will bring. An illness, an injury, a surgery, an unexpected accident, or perhaps nothing more than the true natural challenges of growing older. Preparation does not eliminate uncertainty. It changes how we meet it. Think about the people who prepare their homes before hurricane season. Preparing doesn't guarantee that there won't be a storm. It simply increases the likelihood that they'll weather it better. No pun intended. The same principle applies to your body. Every nutritious meal, every walk, every night of restorative sleep, every glass of water, every moment spent reducing unnecessary stress, and every effort you make to strengthen and protect your spine. None of them may seem dramatic at the moment. Yet, over the course of years, they become the foundation upon which your future health is built. That's why I don't teach health out of fear. I teach preparation. Not because I expect the worst, but because I want you to be as prepared as possible for whatever life brings. My lifestyle didn't prevent the unexpected. It prepared me for it. Perhaps the greatest gift you can give your future self is the decision to begin caring for your body, perhaps differently, today. In our final section, I will leave you with one thought that I trust you'll carry with you long after this conversation is over. Your spine is carrying more than your body. As we bring our conversation to a close, there's one final thought. Since the day you were born, your spine has been there. It supported you when you took your first steps. It allowed you to run and play as a child. It helped you carry your children. Perhaps today it helps you lift your grandchildren or great-grandchildren. It has carried you through celebrations, disappointments, through ordinary days, and though some of the greatest challenges came, it carried you through those too. All the while, it asked for very little, yet it has given you so much. Your spine isn't simply a collection of bones, discs, muscles, and ligaments. It's the protective home of your spinal cord. It's the communication highway between your brain and your body. It's the structural foundation that allows you to stand upright, breathe deeply, move freely, and enjoy the freedom to live your life. I'm going to back up just for a hot minute because I said it is the communication highway between your brain and your body. And you know, if you've been watching, that the vagus nerve is also considered a communication highway. So there's more than one. When you care for your spine, you're doing much more than trying to avoid back pain. You're investing in your independence, your mobility, your confidence, and your vitality and future. Today, we've reviewed 7 well-documented ways to improve your spine health. Number 1, hydrate well. Hydrate your spine from the inside out, remembering that true hydration is much more than drinking water. Number 2, nourish well. Your spine depends upon good nutrition. Healthy discs, bones, muscles, ligaments, and connective tissues all require the nutrients that come from a diet rich in whole, nutrient-dense foods. Number 3, move well. Movement nourishes your spine. Every healthy step, every stretch, and every change in position helps support the normal exchange of nutrients and hydration your spinal discs depend upon. Number 4, sleep well. Give your body the time and the environment it needs to repair. Deep, restorative sleep in a dark, quiet, comfortably cool room is one of your spine's greatest allies. Number 5, think well. And actually, that's number 1. Your nervous system is always listening. The way you think, breathe, and respond to life's challenges influences your posture, muscle tension, movement, and ultimately your spinal health. Number 6, protect well. Your daily habits shape your future. Good posture, proper lifting mechanics, thoughtful movement, and protecting your balance all help preserve your independence for years to come. And number 7, prepare well.